What's up, everybody? This is Jay, and this video is about Season 5, Episode 8 of Power, Friend of the Family. I'd like to give a special thanks to everybody that supports my work at patreon.com/JMoreReviews. I really appreciate all your support, and also everybody that supports my work at paypal.com/JMoreReviews. The links is in the description box below the video, and also subscribe to my channel. And if you enjoy the video, click that like button. Now let's get into it. We see Angie, and it's continuing off from last episode, and she's saying, "Okay, Jamie, no, nobody's going to turn themselves in, okay? That's a rational decision." And so she's telling Ghost not to turn himself in, and he's like, "Look, I already have my mind made up. I'm going to turn myself in. It's already done." And then while she was walking away, Angie was like, "Okay, Mr. St. Patrick, how do you know that Raymond Jones killed your daughter?" And he's like, "Well, I followed him." "Well, how did you know where to follow him?" And he's like, if you give me a second, I'll answer the questions." And she like, well, Tasha like, "Well, the police ain't gonna give you a minute to answer." And then Angie like, "Look, Jamie, we have to find another way. This isn't the way. It will trace it to you, trace it to Tasha, trace it to me and to Rick, and then it will all go down. We have to find another way, Jamie." And so now that started to sink in, and then he started to go into deep thought about what he gonna do. And so then Angie, she's like, "Okay, so we have to figure out a better way." And so Ghost like, "I know a better way. We could frame Dre." And she like, "Well, how do they link?" He like, "Don't worry, I'll figure it out." And so he leaves out with the quickness to go and set up Dre, get that ball rolling. And Tasha like, "Well, the setting up somebody ain't bad, but I don't know if Dre is the right one. You heard of Kanan Stark?" So then meanwhile, we see in the office, old Eartha Kitt, old Earth, she's talking with J-Lo and Big Mac and Saks Fifth, and J-Lo is telling them Terry Silver, he skipped town. They said he took a leave of absence and his apartment is clean. She like, "Well, thanks, J-Lo, for checking that out." And so J-Lo leaves out. And then we see Milk Dud headquarters, and they like, "Well, what you got?" He like, "I ain't got nothing." It seems that when Teresi talked about those murders, that the cameras wasn't working. And so old Earth like, "Well, we have to find a way, because Angela's the missing link in this." And so then we see Dre walking in. He asks Urkel and Jerkel what happened, how it went down. And they like, "Oh man, Kanan came and killed him. It wasn't Ghost." He like, "All right, well, did you pop him?" He like, "No man, I ain't pop him." And so you see Jerkel with the busted nose looking like Bernard Hopkins. He like, "Man, you ain't tell me to." He like, "Well, why didn't you call me?" That's what Dre said, which would make sense. And then here come his dummy talking about, "Well, you didn't tell me to call you. We do it your way, right?" So how could he expect to be number two if he can't think for himself? And so Dre like, "Look, next time call me if there's anything going on." He like, "Man, we could have popped him if we'd have known that," knowing that he pretty much is full of it anyway. And then we see Crystal Ball shining, and he come in, and they like, "Oh snap, you looking casket clean, Crystal Balls. What's going on?" And he's like, "Man, not that it's any of your business, but we got clubs to run." And so that pissed off B-Hop, and his nose got real flared up with anger. He was pissed, looked at him real tough. And so Dre like, "Look, when we go meet Quinn, you call me Mr. Coleman." He like, "You kidding?" He's like, "Do I look like I'm kidding?" And then that nose flared with anger, and Crystal Ball was like, "Okay, my bad, boss. Let's go." So meanwhile, we see Tommy and Ghost talking, and so they're talking, and Tommy's like, "Man, how did you get that hit on Diego, and he like, man, it was quick. Yeah, but he like, we got to tell Jason. He like, man, what if he don't believe us? And then Kanan like, hey, I got the head if you need it. And Ghost and Tommy look surprised, and they like, you want it? They like, yeah. And then Kanan get a text from Tariq saying ready to meet up. So he like, well, look, man, I'll bring the head by later. I got some things to do. And so he leaves. Meanwhile, Tommy and Ghost are talking. And so Tommy texts Jason because Ghost told him to text him and let him know. And that's Ghost's way of finding out if Jason's still alive. And so Tommy texts, one down, one to go. Meanwhile, Ghost and Tommy are talking, and Ghost is basically trying to see if he hears back from Jason. And then Tommy says, hey, I would have expected more appreciation. And so Ghost like, is that really him? He like, yeah, who else would it be? So Ghost is realizing that Dre didn't kill him. Meanwhile, we see Kanan, and he's taking Tariq to summer school for dope class. And so he's telling him about the key of coke and how to break it down. He's telling him about the pound of weed. And then Tariq see the bars of Xanax. He like, man, the kids at school love these. And then so Kanan started telling him how much it costs and what it's worth. And Reek started getting excited, like, man, I could pay my school tuition with this. And Kanan like, hold on, young bull, some of this money you're going to have to bring back. And so you make your money, but you just got to take time. And so Reek like, all right, that is a lot of money still. He like, yeah. And then Reek started asking about the coke. And then Kanan like, man, what they teaching you in class? He said, that's what I thought. They ain't teaching you this. You ain't got nowhere to do with the money. Come on, let's go. We're going to talk to the Italians. And so they roll out. Meanwhile, we see Dre, and we see him with Cristobal, and they go to meet Quinn. And so he introduced her to Cristobal's, and so he make it sound good. So she asked him a couple questions, and he like, yeah, I'm got a little experience. I've been doing this since I was 18 in Miami, working with the family. She like, oh, okay, sound like we in good hands then. He like, oh yeah, I've been working with Mr. Coleman. I know how he likes to run things. She like, oh, okay, fine. And so she like, okay, Dre, will you be going to Paris pretty soon? So it look like we in good hands. Look like we all set. And so then she gives Cristobal her card, and she like, give me a call when you ready. And so they walk off, Dre kind of smiling, and he like, man, that was a good line with the Miami thing. He like, man, why I gotta be a story, why I gotta be a line. Meanwhile, we see the Italians, and we see Vinny. He comes out, he got his little goon bringing him a little green drink to drink on. We see Kanan, and so they ask him what's with the kid, and he like, oh man, I see you got your bodyguards, I figured I'd bring mine. And Vincent smiled, he thought that was cute. And so he like, so what's going on, what do we have here? And Kanan like, well, I know you got short a supplier. Since the thing with Tommy, I just want to make up and be that supplier that you're missing. And so he like, hold on, what's going on with Tommy? He like, man, well, Tommy, he had the problem with a friend of his, like a brother. That's what caused the hit. And so the other dude like, man, you gonna take care of that, right? And he like, man, goes to Tommy, yeah, we take care of that. And the guy say in Italian, think we can trust this guy. And Tariq says real fast in Italian that, yeah, you can trust him. And then he says, oh, I see why you brought the kid. He said, what we'll do, we'll try this on a trial basis. And so he shake up with Kanan. Meanwhile, we see Ghost and Tommy, and Tommy like, why are we waiting here? He like, hold on. And so Ghost is texting Dre to meet up. Next thing you know, Dre and Cristobal's walk out of the hotel. And so Tommy like, man, they look just like us, except Dre got crusty balls in his suit. And so then they checking them out and planning their little hit. And so Tommy like, well, look, man, if that's all, I got to go. I got a family dinner to take care of. And Ghost like, oh, what's up, man? You can't invite brother? What's going on? He like, oh, yeah, that's right, your other family. You still sipping that Teresi Kool-Aid. Tommy like, look, man, you tripping. You got secrets you holding. I'm about to walk. I'll catch you later. And he got out the car, left Ghost hanging. Meanwhile, we see Tariq, and he's getting out the elevator at the crib, and the first thing he see is his mama with Angie. And so he's like, what is she doing here, to arrest you? She like, no, she not here to arrest. She here to help me. And he like, what, to help Dad? And she like, oh, I'm here to help you and to help your mom. And so she like, I want to know about Raymond Jones. And he like, man, that's what you brought me here for? And she like, we need to know as much as we can about him, Reek. This is serious. And so she starts telling him little information about what's going on. Then Angie was like, what about Kanan Stark? I heard he killed his own son. Do you know about that? And then Tariq looked and he was getting upset. He like, so you gonna set up Kanan? Just like when I was a kid. And then Tasha like, yes, he deserves to go down. And then he like, I thought my dad was a traitor and he just made you do it. But now I know that you just as bad, that you came up with this anyway. You need to find another way, Mom. He was good to me, and now you want me to sell him out. And she like, boy, ain't nobody been better to you than me. I'm your mama. And she had a great point right there. And then Tariq was looking kind of stupid. He like, Mom, you need to find another way. And Tasha was like, you know, he deserves to go down for this. And then Tariq like, you got to find another way. I'm not doing it. And he just walked off and left Tasha looking stupid and heartbroken. Meanwhile, we see Tommy, and he's all happy at his house. He opens the door. He's letting in his mom and his dad, and he's all happy. Welcome to the humble abode. They give him a little shampoo, and then Connie like, do you have a cook in there? And she saw that it was a black woman in there. He figured it was a cook, but he didn't know that was his woman. And it was Keisha come out, and then they all smiles, put on their fake smiles, and like, oh hey. And then Tommy's dad saw that big old booty, and he was like, oh okay, I know what my boy sees in you. And so meanwhile they was having dinner. And then next thing you know, Teresi like, I don't know what I just ate, but compliments to the cook. And Keisha like, oh okay, thanks, and everything. And Tommy like, oh yeah, you know, Connie, I checked into that stuff you told me about the ambulance, and it's a great idea. And she like, oh, okay, well, I'm just glad I can help you in your search. And then he like, oh, no. Tommy like, no, it's okay. I don't hide nothing from Keisha. And then his daddy was like, oh, you trust her that much, do you? And then Connie was like, oh, well, you know, You never know what could happen. It's a lot of hard times out here. And Keisha was like, it's okay. Me and Tommy already been through a lot. And then Tommy was like, oh yeah, me and Keisha, she's a stand-up girl. She's ride or die. And they like, I don't know what that means, but alright. And then Connie like, I don't mean to be rude, but these guys is more hard than good. They took Tommy away for 25 years. I didn't think I'd see him again. And Tony like, yeah, but you stood by me. She like, that's 'cause I love you, you big palooka. And then Tommy was like, well, Keisha, she always been there for me. And then Keisha like, yeah, when you find a guy that be there for you, you hold on to it. And they like, well, let's toast to that. And so they all toast. Meanwhile, we see Tasha, and she going to that safe that everybody know the combination to and putting in the gun. And at the same time, Ghost is talking to her, and he's saying, well, Angie got surveillance on Ray and Dre, and so that's good news. Now they're linked. And Tasha like, well, wouldn't it be better if we found somebody with a lower profile? And Ghost like, yeah, but I don't know anybody else in Ray's crew. She like, well, what about somebody else? What about Kanan? And Ghost like, what? Kanan? Kanan helped save our son. Dre's the one that put him in harm's way. And then Tasha like, Kanan is the one that got him involved in all this stuff. Kanan is the one that is at fault. And Ghost, he's not trying to hear it. And Tasha, she thinks that's the best option. And so meanwhile, we see Tariq in his room, and he's going in his bag pulling out all the dope or whatever that Kanan done hooked him up with. And so he hears somebody coming, so he stuff it in the bag and lay down. And so Ghost come and he talked to him, and he like, hey, when you was running with them, did you see Ray Ray with Dre at any time? And he like, yeah, at Bree's house, your friend you killed. And Ghost like, who told you that? Kanan? He like, man, he was your friend and you killed him for territory. What's up with that? And Ghost like, man, look, Breeze was a bad dude. He was gonna get us all killed. Then Reek said, so what, you gonna set up Kanan? And Ghost said, look, I'm going to try to get this problem solved, but no, I'm not going to set up Kanan. And then Reek said, so are you going to set up Dre? How you going to do that? He wasn't even there. He said, look, I'll do what I had to do to protect this family. He said, so if you don't prove it for Dre, what, mom go to jail? He said, look, your mama not going to jail. I'll go to jail, protect this family if I have to, but nobody going. And so Ghost leave, and right after he leave, in walks Tasha. Meanwhile, we see Kanan and Tommy shooting pool, and Kanan, he on top of his game. He happy, he laughing at Tommy because he didn't hit him for a leg, couple hundred. And Tommy like, yeah, that's cool. But anyway, how did you and Ghost get eyes on Diego to pull that hit? And Kanan like, man, I think Dre wanted Diego dead. But more importantly, he had a deal worked out with Ghost. But what was the other side of that deal? Me or you? And Kanan basically manipulating Tommy because he know the other side of the deal was Jason. And walks Ghost. He want to talk with Tommy. He asks, can Kanan clear the room? Kanan like, man, what's up with that? You always trying to separate people, man. You trying to get me to leave? And right then, Ghost like, it ain't like that. And Tommy like, hey, you ain't gotta leave. And Kane like, man, it's cool. I got somewhere to go anyway. And so he walks out, and they wait. Ghost wait for him to leave before he start talking. And so right when Kanan leave, Tommy like, man, did you know Keisha got an indictment to appear in front of a federal grand jury? He like, oh damn, no. He like, yeah, that's right. He like, well look, I got a way where we can get it all clear up. When we get rid of Dre, we could just put the La Aranya card on him and drop the murder weapon on him. Tommy like, yeah, we could put Diego here in his spot too. He like, yeah, that's even better. So we're going to go ahead and handle that. And so they leave. Meanwhile, we see Kanan, and he's loading up 2 bags in the trunk, and he's telling Reek, I normally don't roll dirty like this since your mom and pops set me up. And Tariq like, man, it's all good. Ghost about to get his real soon. And then Kanan like, what? You about to fuck Ghost up? And Reek like, nah, Ghost gonna get himself messed up. He gonna go ahead and take the rap for me, for the gun or whatever, and the murder on Ray Ray. And Kanan like, man, I ain't never known Ghost to be no punk and just roll over like that. And then Reek like, well, yeah, he said he might try to set up Drake. He like, now that sound more like him. And so he like, come on, man, let's go. Let's load this up and close the trunk. And so he left Reek alone by the back of the car while he closed the trunk. Meanwhile, we see Ghost at Truth. He pouring a little taste. And then we see Councilman Taint walk in. And so he like, man, don't you have everything that you already want? And he's like, man, look, this ain't about me. I'm here to help you. He like, help me? He like, yeah, I'm going to let you know that you need to stay away from Dre. He like, well, I'm gonna need more than your assurances. He said, look, the reason that Dre is gone is while I was wrongfully incarcerated, he was selling drugs in the club, and I was busted him with it. And now he's doing the same thing with the Bassett Corporation. He like, Councilman Tate, like, why you telling me this now? He said, cause now if you stick with me, you can go to the top. But he's doing it with them. He's getting ready to go down soon, and he gonna take you with him. And so Councilman Tate that left something for him to think about. Meanwhile, we see Kanan, and he with Reek taking a stroll down memory lane, and he telling them about all the stuff him and Ghost did, and how Ghost used to outrun the cops just fast enough so that Tommy and Kanan get caught. And Reek like, he always think about himself. He's like, yeah, well, it worked for him. And then Kanan put a couple boulders in his hand. He said, go ahead, get these dimes off. Don't come back till you do. And Reek like, man, how I'm gonna do that? I don't know nobody over here. And Kanan like, go ahead, figure it out. And so he basically testing to see if he got a hustle spirit, if he got that hustle in his heart. Meanwhile, we see Tasha, and she talking to Keisha about the indictment. And so she like, Tasha, I gotta go in front of the grand jury. It's one thing lying to the police. Now you got me lying in court. I could go to jail for this. Tasha like, it's okay, I got you. She like, how you got me? How many times you say you got me? You ain't got me. Have I ever came to you and asked you to lie to the police? Have I ever came and ran drugs through your business? How many times have you looked out for me, for my son? But Yaz been over here I don't know how many times. And so Tasha looking stupid right now, ain't got nothing to say. And Keisha basically pulled her card on how Tasha basically been using her. And so Tasha like, you know what? You right. I ain't been a good friend. And I'm sorry for that. And if you don't want to say anything, you don't feel comfortable about it, don't say nothing then. It's fine. But I'm trying to let you know I got you. And Keisha like, how do you got me, Tasha? Which I don't know how Tasha thinks she can stop anything if it was really coming down. But anyway, she reassured Keisha that she got her back. And so Keisha, she started thinking about it. She like, Keisha, you gonna let Tommy and me go to jail? And so that kind of pulled on Keisha's heart right there. Meanwhile, we see Kanan with the crunchy hand sipping on the little scissor. And then Reek hop in the car. He like, man, no, don't get back in here. Scared money don't make money. Ain't no way you got him off that fast. And Reek like, no, I got him off on these dudes on the corner. Here go the money. And so he give Kanan the money. And he looking. He like, man, this right here is fake. Man, you hustling backwards, man. We losing money. Man, so they pull off. And Reek like, man, there they go right there. And so he see the dudes right there. He like, that's them. Hey, bend around the corner and let's roll back on them. And so Kanan, he bend the corner. Reek like, hey man, give me your gun. I know you strapped. And so they pull up and Reek pop out and cock thing and pointed at him. He like, give me the money or you gonna get popped. And so dude gets scared. He dropped the money, take off running. And so Reek, he ain't rocking Jordans no more now that he been in that white school. He rocking kids. And he grabbed the money and hopped back into the car, peel out. It got Kanan laughing. He like, happy like a proud papa of a new thug, a brand new baby thug. And so Reek got a text from Tasha saying, where are you? Then Kanan like, man, you like the son I never had. And so Reek like, man, but what happened with Sean? He was like your son and you killed him. He was your son. And he like, man, sometimes you ain't a real killer unless you kill somebody you love. And he like, man, but Reek was like, that was your son. He like, man, I ain't had no tests. I should have. He like, look, man. Kanan like, look, I love the kid, but he wasn't like us. He was soft. And so that had Reek thinking. And he like, man, Reek like, I gotta go back home. And Kanan like, all right, that's cool. But don't worry, man. I ain't gonna never do nothing grimy like that to you. And so meanwhile, we see Ghost, and he's sitting in the club in deep concentration. And next thing you know, in walks Dre. And so Dre come in trying to look all dapper Dan, and he like, sorry I'm late, but I was getting my travel arrangements together. Ghost like, man, bump all that. What happened? You owe me a body, man. Diego gone. Jason still walking. And Dre like, man, from what I remember, you was supposed to do it and Kanan did it. Ghost like, it don't matter who did it, it got done and you owe me a body. And then Dre started smelling where he was coming from, and he like, hey look man, I don't owe you nothing. I went to go take him out and somebody tipped him off. You need to check who's going on in your organization. And so Dre, he started getting a little bold. So he told Ghost, the only reason I even came here is to let you, Tommy, and Kanan know to stop messing with me and my crew. And now that Diego's out the way, Alicia needs me now more than ever. And Ghost was like, well, it seemed like you've been doing good ever since you chose me to follow instead of Kanan. He said, well, now your mentee gots to go. Gots to take care of some business. And so he left, and that made Ghost mad. First thing he did is whip out the phone, text Tommy, Dre tonight, meet me at the spot. Meanwhile, we see Proctor, and he's meeting up with his cousin, and they in some far out location. And so the cousin like, man, what's up, man, here? And so he's giving Proctor the laptop. He said, you need to get rid of this, man. This is all that got to tie you to that Fed. He like, no, I need this. I may need this to save my own ass, man. The guys I work for, I don't know. And he said, man, I like the guys. His cousin said, can you trust them? He said, I think I'm last on their list of priorities. I like them, but they tricked me into working for them through my wife's problem. He said, well, look, whatever you do, I'm sure you make the right choice. Meanwhile, we see Kanan still riding with Reek. And so Kanan is like, look, man, don't worry about what happened earlier. You slipped up, but you corrected the problem. And that's what's important. He said, man, it's always something. Look at me. I'm about 10 years behind where I want to be, but I'm about to be the next distro. I'm about to be like Nicky Barnes in this piece. Next thing you know, they get some flashing lights, and he like, it's the Fed, the police. Man, at least one thing ain't changed. They still pulling people over for a living. And he's like, man, Kanan, I still got that weed on me. Like, man, tuck it under the seat, man. This the real police. This ain't like that security guard. Don't pull that crap. And so then the police, he come knock on the window, ask him for the ID, and ask for the kid ID. Kanan roll it down. He like, here you go. And they like, let me check the trunk. He like, it's okay. I ain't got nothing to hide. And so you see one cop going to the back of the car to get ready to check the trunk. Next thing you know, we see the safe open up, and Ghost is like, hey, Tasha, where's that gun? I saw you put it in the safe. I told you to keep it put up because I'm going to need it later for Dre. Where's that? And so Tasha just standing there looking stupid. She ain't had nothing to say. And so, Ghost like, Tasha, what you do with the gun? And so before she said anything, it cuts back to what's going on with Kanan. And you see that officer, he looking in the trunk. He like, man, we got a weapon back here. And plain as day, you see Tasha's gun back there. And so 50 like, man, don't worry, man, ain't nothing back there. They probably trying to sprinkle some crack or something just to get me on some bull, but it's all good. What they don't know is I ain't never going back. And Reek was like, yeah, I know. And so the cops like, hey, could y'all get out the car? And so they get out, and they like, man, we got a call that he was missing, he was kidnapped. And 50 like, man, I ain't kidnapped that kid, he here on his own free will. Tell him, Reek. And Reek ain't say nothing. He was standing there quiet, looking shook. And so the officers checking him out and everything. And then you see backup arrive. Meanwhile, we see Tommy. He's at the spot where Ghost told him to meet. And so he's texting Ghost, hey, Ghost, I got eyes on Dre. Where you at? And so we see Dre walking down the street on the phone. He oblivious to knowing that he was about to die. And so Tommy didn't hear from Ghost, so he let Dre leave. The reason he ain't hear from Ghost, he's too busy arguing with Tasha about what happened. And so Tasha is like, well, right now it's with Tariq, and he's getting ready to put it on Kanan. And Ghost like, what? Are you crazy? You got Tariq with Kanan? Tasha, what are you doing? And he's all tripping because he knows how dangerous the situation is. And so we see Kanan, and the officer is telling them, hey, we received a call from the kid's mom saying that he was held against his will. And so we just calling, and Kanan's shocked. He like, man, I ain't kidnap him. He here on his own free will. Tell him. And so Reek look, they like, is that true, kid? You here on your own free will? And he like, man, that's my friend Sean's father. I thought I was safe with him. And they like, man, are you here against your will? And Tariq nod his head, yes. And so right then, Kanan head dropping, disappointment. He couldn't believe Reek betrayed him. Cops take Reek, put him in the back of a squad car. And Kanan like, man, be careful with the cuffs. It's been a while. And right when the cop turned his head, he grabs the cop's gun and shoots the cop in the top of the head. Pops his top like a muffin. And so we see Reek getting scared. He shook. And so we see one cop, and they trying to have a shootout with him between the doors. Meanwhile, Tasha's too busy talking about how safe Reek is, and Ghost like, Tasha, Kanan's not gonna go down easy. He's not going down. That was a bad move. And so basically we see Kanan at the very moment they were saying that in a shootout with the cops. And so one cop, he was hiding behind the back of the SUV, and that was the backup cop. And so he's shooting out with him. The female cop is in the passenger door of the other squad car. And so he's having a shootout, and he ends up getting his second gun because he got shot in the shoulder, and then he pull out both pistolas and air her out like dirty laundry. And so now he's shooting the other cop that was behind the squad car, and so that dude ended up getting a round right square in his chest. Like that really took a lot out of him, but he was able to still get a fatal shot on that cop to lay him out. And so Reek, he tried to escape out the car, but you can't get out the back of a squad car. And so you see Kanan walk up to that cop at point blank range. Even while he was begging for his life, he turned his head, looked at Reek, and shot him right in the head. And that right there just shook Reek to his core. I'm surprised his big eyes ain't fall out his head. And so Kanan looked at him, but he didn't shoot Reek. He could have killed him. But me personally, I think the reason he didn't kill Reek is because he didn't know Reek put that gun back there. He thinking the cops may have did it. So he goes to the back, gets into that cop squad car, and tries to make his escape. And so while he's driving, he starts coughing up blood, and he loses control of the steering wheel and drives right off into this field. And immediately in front of him, his head on the wheel, and he's straight in the ditch, bleeding, and you can see him taking his last breaths. And at the same time, Reek watched the whole thing unfold. So meanwhile, we see back at the police station, Ghost and Tasha sitting in the waiting room. We see Reek come in, and Tasha and Ghost is all there to comfort him and ask what happened. And right then, J-Lo like, yes, that's what I want to know too. And Miss St. Patrick, I want to talk to you first. And so she talking to Tasha, and so Tasha is like, Kanan Stark was there. And she like, well, did he have a chance to get the gun? And she like, yeah, you can ask Lakeisha. And so they show Keisha, and she's getting interviewed. And then the next thing you know, she like, yes, Kanan Stark was there at Raina's wake. And yes, he had the opportunity to take the gun too. And then they cut to Reek, and he's getting questioned. And at the same time he's getting questioned, you can see Ghost in the corner watching the whole thing unfold. And so he's looking at his boy become a master liar just like him. And so Reek is faking the little crocodile tears, and he's saying, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have lied, sir. And Ghost the whole time is just looking like, damn, this boy is good. That boy good. And you see Mr. Burns, and he's believing him. He like, it's okay, kid. Meanwhile, they showing Dre, and he's getting into the little kitchen area of a hotel. And then you see Diego and Quinn, and they start looking at him like, what in the world is this? And lo and behold, it's Diego, the ghost of Diego, coming back to haunt him. And so right then, his nose is about to pop with frustration and disbelief that Diego was giving him a little head at the job. And so meanwhile, we see Angie, and she's bringing the box of evidence of Raymond Jones. She just couldn't wait. And so she's there at the exact same time Ghost and Tasha are leaving. She's coming in and giving all of the evidence and all of that paperwork back to J-Lo. And of course Tasha had to smile, but Ghost, no, he looking like, why are you here? And the first thing J-Lo said is, why are you here? And she like, you're right, Raymond Jones is just another crooked cop on the take. You take it. And she like, oh, okay, I take it too. And so Angie walked away like she just got over, and J-Lo is looking like, oh, okay, you leave me holding the bag, I'm going to get you. And then next thing you know, you see Big Mac and Sax, and they talking with Proctor, and he's over here dry snitching, talking about, I can't say nothing about James St. Patrick, but if it's somebody helping, it's Angela. And old Earth was just like blown away. Meanwhile, we see Tommy and Ghost, and they in the morgue, and they're looking, and Tommy is like, man, I can't believe you did this one. And what was that about Dre to get me out the way? And Ghost like, man, that was Tasha. And Tariq, he like, you blaming your wife and kid? Man, that's low. I never would have thought you did that. You expect me to believe that? And then you see the employee walk in, and he's going in to pull back the sheet on Kanan, and Kanan is looking like one of the Walking Dead right there. He all dried out, leaking, and Tommy like, man, rest in peace, you tough bastard. And next thing you know, they show Kanan, and then next thing you hear is, go get the strap. And so, you know, it was crazy how this episode went. It was a lot of information they crammed into this episode. I had to cut a lot out because this video was just getting too long. But as far as one thing I want to address, Kanan, I think the reason he didn't kill Tariq, like I said, is because he didn't know Reek planted that gun. If he would have known that Reek planted that gun and was working with Tasha and everybody to set him up, I think he would have killed Reek. All the other stuff people say is fine and dandy, and he felt sorry for Reek or this or that. This all sounds good, but I think that was the key right there. I think he thought that the cops was trying to set him up with that. And as far as this episode, it's winding down. The way that they're shaping up the series is like they're going to make Reek the next Ghost, and he'll probably end up taking out Ghost or something to that effect one day. It's just getting to be real interesting what they're trying to do with the storyline and the writing. But nevertheless, it was a really good episode. It was sad to see 50 go because he was such a good actor and a good character on the show. But at the same time, we do need to remember this character did kill his own son, as well as kill a grandma with a Jesus Saves pillow. And he gets no lower than that. But in the end, I appreciate y'all for watching. Guess Kanan got the strap, and he's out of there. And then I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.